Does chess opening really matters? Take a look at this game and you tell me. I mean, you take a look for yourself. I played against an FM. I was taking white 3-0, and I played here. And I told my opponent, show me what you got. So anytime you play e4, which is a legendary move, you want to play towards the center. I mean, I was expecting d5, e5. Anytime your opponent plays something goofy like this, you want to play toward the center. He decided to play c5. It's still a good move, but it's not the optimal move, which is okay. So I told myself, a4 is, it's not the legendary enough. This is really the legendary move. Rook e2. So I'm telling my opponent, try to play toward the center, show me what you have, and he decided to play here. I actually figured that, again, you play toward the center, you're not making moves at all, you want to play here. So it was his chance to do this kind of stuff, or even e5. So he played here. He's developing a knight, which is okay. So finally, this makes sense now. e4 is being played, moving the bishop somehow. And he decided to play g6. So that's, he wants to play bishop g7 kind of ideas. So I played knight c3, maybe the only good move so far. And he played here and then h4. So obviously here I'm heading toward h5, some kind of a plan that maybe makes sense now, considering rook e2, the legendary move, and e4. We have knight f6 here and f4. So this move is wacky as hell here. So that gives weaknesses for white around my king. Look at this. This is already terrible. The reason this move is not good, because you could claim some kind of knight g4. Not now, because I could take with the queen. So there are some plans you could do, like d6, h5, knight g4. And there's weaknesses that I cannot really control around my king. He didn't go for it. He played d5. I actually figured that this move is not really needed right now, even though he's playing toward the center, but he should have done that like 20 years ago. I figured that maybe like h5 knight. So even after h5 e5, he can still play knight g4. Maybe break on the center by d6. But he didn't go for it, d5, and then I figured that I played here. So I was expecting during the game that knight g4 is really the idea. So knight g4 now, because I cannot really take, the bishop is connecting, h5 is happening. Maybe knight g4, there was potential h5. That maybe was his concern. And maybe the bishop could go to e2, and then there might be some concern that maybe the knight is not ideal here. So, which we have to ask this question out of 20 questions, why d5, right? I mean, if he has to go here, you may have to take the pawn, right? He decided to go with knight e4, and I just don't like the plan, but it may be the only move left. Because after here, I could take... This feels like a loose pawn at e4, but he can still defend. He's also connecting the queen, so there's some ideas, right? Hopefully there are some ideas, but... and I decided to play here, which is probably the best move. You want to have more diagonals, right? And then he played h5 after 50 years. He could have probably done this move long time ago. So I'm not a fan of this move right now. There's maybe potential knight h3, knight g5, potential ideas. And I don't have to worry about the knight being on g4, right? So that it's still weaknesses, it's still concerning, but nothing like before. And then I played this best move ever by me. This move is... during the game, I was telling myself, you have to be creative, you just have to be, creative with your ideas. I was looking at here or somehow here. And I was like, maybe we could make a move. It's a waiting move. I was already waiting on e2. Now we have to do another waiting move, which is on e3. So he played bishop g4, which maybe kind of explained the idea why he played h5. So he wanted to play here. I just didn't feel like I need to play here. Because this may, allow knight d4 and trading on e2. So I figured that we could trade on e2 this way. You want to take here. I actually figured that he would take, taking here. Or maybe bishop f5. There's maybe a reason why he didn't take. If queen takes, maybe this pawn is loose. But he could have probably played queen d5. But then there's this best move ever here. But then knight d4. So... depending on how I take, if he takes here, I take here, I'm at technique 4, he could still play here and, queen d5. But there's maybe here knight takes, and then there's potential like this pawn at e4 is weak, and which I may grab it on e4. But he played here. I don't know if I like the move though. The bishop is not active, and I decided to go here. Now you could see knight g5 being a move. But then he told himself, this knight is coming. We have to trade it. There's no need to allow it. So he was like, okay, trading it. Now, the fun part is which way to take. You guys don't see this game you don't see this kind of games like every day. So I figured that this rook is already here. Its twin has to join the party, right? So the twin has to join. So we have these rooks lining up like this. You could see there's some kind of like, potential diagonals or files that they may do some good job here. So it's probably taking this way. It's a good idea. You don't want to take with the pawn, right? It doesn't make any kind of sense. The rook is on e3, so maybe I could go here, bring the other rook here. So it's okay to take that way. We're not really castling here. So queen d7, I actually figured that he's going to castle long, but he did not. We played d3. So the point of this move is to get this bishop out. You notice that I'm moving all my rooks and I forgot about my bishop on c1. You always want to develop your minor pieces as much as possible here, and I did not. It took like maybe my move 14, 15 that the bishop is now moving. So somehow he took, which is okay, I guess. But the problem here, it's funny what to do if you don't take, right? I mean, maybe castling along, you could give up that pawn, I guess, maybe. But even then, it's difficult. Maybe you could give up this one and go for weird ending, like take. So if you could castle here, I could take and then takes. Potential knight b4, knight d4 could be a move. The problem here when he takes, like, what is going on, sir, right? The rook gets active. Remember this rook was on e2, and then it goes to e3, and then it goes to d3. Now, the real issue is this rook is super active. I mean, it's also looking at this. It's funny that the rook is active in all, like, both files. Like, this is actually what I would consider, like, this is still like a file and then here. So it's not typical for rook to be that active. Typically, if you want to play a rook of b1 and remove b2, you are active in one file. So the rook is acting as a... You would know why why I'm saying that. Why it's important to put your rook on d3 and have this activity for yourself. So he played queen e6, and then I played here. So now, funny enough, things are getting active. I want to go bishop d5, maybe get the other bishop involved sometime this year. So he played here, and I told myself, we need to gain tempos. Why should I play bishop e3, right? I mean, I might be gaining tempo, like I want to take the pawn, but this is not about pawns for me. So I figured that gain a tempo fast enough. Gaining tempos in a chess games is always key. Like you make a move, your opponent defend, you gain additional turn for yourself. So now I move here, then it's my turn because he has to defend his queen. So he played here, and then I told myself activity matters now, and I played here. So now this rook move is very strong. There's a reason for that, because after he plays here, which this move is wacky though, like I don't understand. The reason this move is really weird, because it doesn't really help him. There's nothing you could do. I was basically during the game, I was basically saying, I remember like talking about, if he has to play e6 at some point, but it's not going to work. It's funny that e6 does not work for the next move, which met by rook g5. There's a reason why he could do this move if he's able to do it at some point, because this seems to be like a very strong pin that he is not getting out of pretty soon. But, the queen is stuck on f5. You could tell by his next moves that he wasn't really happy by playing queen f5 at some point. So knight d4 happened here, which I don't like it. I remember thinking that he wants to go to knight e6. Maybe that knight here to defend. So the bishop doesn't have like a good diagonal. But I have this move. Again, the art of not wasting moves, the art of gaining tempos is really key. This move is super strong because it attacks the queen and then forcing the queen to react, and then we continue attacking. So the only move here that makes sense to me is actually one move only, and it may be this. So the idea is you're attacking the bishop. So this means you gain a tempo, right? And then I have to like maybe play c4, move the bishop out. But I have to react to defend this bishop. He played the most weird move here to me, I think. And you could see he was not happy with how he played queen f5, and then he went back. This move is horrible for 3 reasons, or maybe 2 main reasons here. So you're playing queen c8. It blocks access to your rooks. That's one. The queen does not really do anything on c8. It's pretty inactive. If queen d7, it does make sense in a way, because at least you're still connecting the 2 rooks and you're attacking something on d5. Now, the next move is super strong by me. And again, we are gaining tempos. You notice tempo after tempo after tempos. And then they are, they rule the whole thing, meaning that after this move, everything looks good. You cannot take, sir, right? Not now, not the next 50 years. There's a pin. And that's the reason why I said this pin on f7 was critical, because of that reason. So my opponent told himself, well, maybe I could still defend, right? Maybe I could win something, Why not the next move? E6. So maybe this is the only tempo move that he did that felt like it's a good idea. Maybe he's telling you himself, move the bishop, sir, so we can take the rook. Move the rook so we can take the bishop. Sounds reasonable. Think again. It's not the right thing. You want to continue gaining tempos. I'm not going to be defending here. I'm just going in front, attacking. And the next move is pretty strong. With a sack. Again, we're gaining tempos. It's funny that tempos, you just noticed 3 moves in a row is all about tempos, gaining activity one after another, after, like 3 times at least. So now he cannot really take here because he's on check and he has to defend. And then he played here. And then that makes sense. I mean, the only move left in the board. And then we check him. Now, do you guys remember when I was talking about the rook on d3 not long ago, and how the rook has an open file, and also like it could swing this way? So the rook was on d3, it could go here. So this is actually, if you think about it, this rook goes with check and it's active file here. Now, why is this so active? Because it's near the king, right? And here he's just lost. There's nothing he could do to defend this, I mean, he just have to resign. But sometimes people doesn't resign. They just want to play all the way to the end. And for even 25, 20, almost 2600, he just should have resigned here. He went on. So obviously, if you go here, you go here, this queen takes h5, checkmate. And you could see why this rook move is very interesting. He played here. He told himself, maybe I could defend. Maybe Stellar is just, he may do like a mouse slip, and then, we could come back. Maybe I could have like knight f5 or something, and life is really good. I mean, even knight f5 does not really save anything. But the point is here, again, we're gaining tempos. Another tempo move. I mean, I could play rook g5, which is pretty strong, obviously. I mean, but I just play here, which is good. It's still rook g5 is also good, to be honest, because I'm still like hitting with the mate. Right, this is actually mate with the queen, right? So if he played rook g5, it's made by force on h5. So I played here, which actually is a tempo, meaning that it's check with the bishop, and if you go here, it's queen takes, which is checkmate. So it's a good game still. I mean, but it's a proof that opening may not mean much. This is actually a 2600 rated player, almost 26, right? He's an FM. It's a 3-0, so this time to think about your moves. But it's just to prove that sometimes openings doesn't mean much. It's a proof that I played rook a4, rook e2. So this game is all about like tactics. If your opponent is not good on tactics, or he makes one slip, you could always come back and win games like that. So remember, this channel is all about entertaining. There's also some educational stuff. The tempos that I was showing you, tempo after tempo after tempos. And also, it's more like entertaining for the laugh as well. You could see that's from start to finish is meant to be for the entertaining mostly. My first channel, Stellar Chess, is actually the educational one. So want you to follow this one as well. The extra one, it's for more. So it's both channels working together, providing material for both educational for the Stellar Chess one, and the extra one is for the entertaining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more.